notice that the loudest person in the room is usually the weakest? Always talking, always proving something, always chasing validation. But the strongest person, the one who moves in silence, that's the one who truly wins. Let me tell
is subscribe.
Life has a way of giving you exactly what you need at exactly the right time. But only if you learn to be still. Only if you learn to be quiet. Only if you learn to trust the process. Because when you stop forcing, when you stop begging, when you stop explaining yourself to people who never cared to understand you, that's when life starts working in your favor.
Subscribe my channel, subscribe please.
The right people will stay. The wrong ones will remove themselves. All you have to do is stay silent and let it happen. Silence is power, not just the absence of words, but the presence of awareness. The moment you stop talking, the moment you resist the urge to explain yourself, defend yourself, or prove your worth to those who don't deserve your energy, that's when you take back control. You begin to listen, not just to words, but to what isn't being said, to the energy in the room, to the hidden motives behind people's actions, to the truth that's buried beneath all the noise. Most people can't handle silence. They talk because they fear it. They talk because they feel invisible. They talk because they think being louder makes them stronger. But true strength isn't about how much you say. It's about what you do in the moments of restraint. It's about patience. It's about having the discipline to observe and understand before reacting. Think about the people you admire most, the leaders, the visionaries, the ones who command respect effortlessly. They don't waste words. They don't fill space with meaningless chatter. They don't try to impress you with empty promises or exaggerated stories. When they speak, people listen. And why? Because their words carry weight. And what gives their words weight? Experience, wisdom, intention. That's the power of silence. When you stop talking, you start listening. Not just to others, but to yourself. You begin to recognize the thoughts that truly matter. You start noticing the warnings you once ignored. You see more clearly who is truly for you and who is just playing a role in your life. Because when you're always speaking, you can't observe, you can't analyze, you can't read between the lines, and you miss the moments when people reveal exactly who they are. People will always show you who they are if you let them, but most never notice because they're too busy trying to prove something. When you stay silent, you create space for people to reveal their true nature. You don't have to ask if they're loyal. Just watch. You don't have to beg for respect. Just be still and see how they treat you when you're no longer performing for their approval. Winning in life isn't about how much you say. It's about how much you understand. When you listen more than you speak, you learn. You pick up on opportunities before they become obvious. You see people's true intentions before they have the chance to deceive you. You sense situations shifting before they catch you off guard. Silence brings clarity, and clarity is what separates the strong from the weak. Think of a chess game. The best players don't make reckless moves. They don't announce their strategy. They sit in silence, reading the board, studying their opponent, waiting for the right moment to act. That's how life works. The ones who talk too much, they expose their plans before they even make a move. They reveal their weaknesses without even realizing it. But the one who stays quiet, the one who observes, that's the one who always stays ahead. People respect silence more than words, because anyone can talk, anyone can make promises, anyone can claim to be strong, wise, or in control. But real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real power is felt. It's in presence, in action, in the ability to sit in silence and still command attention. When you stop talking, you start noticing. You pick up on the little shifts in people when they're lying. You hear the subtle changes in their tone when they're being insincere. You recognize hesitation, contradictions, and the energy behind their words. And that level of awareness, that depth of understanding, is something most people never reach, because they're too busy filling the silence instead of listening to what it reveals. There's a reason why the quietest people in the room are often the most powerful. They're not silent because they have nothing to say. They're silent because they're watching, because they're analyzing, because they understand that words can be a distraction. But silence is a weapon. When you start listening more than you speak, you realize just how much unnecessary noise exists in the world. How many arguments aren't worth your energy? How many explanations are wasted on people who have already decided what they want to believe? How many apologies you never needed to give because you weren't wrong in the first place? Silence is power. It stops you from reacting impulsively. It keeps you from saying things you'll later regret. It helps you avoid battles that aren't worth your energy. It allows you to move with purpose, with precision, and with a clear mind. When you embrace silence, you begin to filter out those who crave your attention, but lack your best interests at heart. You stop engaging in conversations that drain you. You no longer feel the urge to respond to every insult, every doubt, or every challenge thrown your way. Because true strength doesn't argue, it simply exists, unshaken, undeniable. Some of life's greatest victories come not from speaking, but from knowing when to stay quiet. From letting your actions, your discipline, and your results speak for you. From keeping your emotions guarded. From refusing to react when others expect you to. Because the moment someone learns how to provoke you, they gain control over you. But when you remain silent, when you refuse to let them dictate your response, that's when you become unstoppable. It's not easy to be silent in a world that equates being loud with being important. But real significance, real power, has nothing to do with how much noise you make. It's in the weight of your presence. It's in the impact of your actions. It's in the discipline of knowing when to hold back. When you stop talking, you start listening. And when you start listening, you start winning. Because wisdom lives in the quiet. Strength is built in stillness. And those who master silence master life. Desperation repels what you desire. The more you chase something, the more it resists you. This applies not only to people, but to everything. Success, relationships, respect, opportunities. The moment you start running after them, you give off an energy of lack, of neediness, and nothing valuable responds well to desperation. Think about it. Have you ever tried catching a butterfly with your hands? The more you reach for it, the further it flies. But the moment you stand still, the moment you stop grasping, it lands gently on your shoulder. Life works the same way. The harder you chase, the faster things slip away. But when you stop, when you focus on yourself, when you embody patience and confidence, everything starts gravitating toward you. People are naturally drawn to what feels rare, what feels valuable. But when you chase someone, when you make yourself too available, you diminish that value. Your actions send the message that you're willing to overextend yourself just to keep them in your life. And when someone senses that they're more important to you than you are to yourself, they begin to take you for granted. They pull away. They push boundaries. Because you've shown them they don't have to work to keep you. But when you stop chasing, when you stop initiating every conversation, making every call, and trying to prove your worth,
that's when things shift. That's when people start noticing your absence. That's when they begin to wonder why you're no longer available, why you've stopped trying. And suddenly they start chasing you. Not because you manipulated them, but because you finally understood your value enough to stop running after what was never running towards you. The same principle applies to success. Those who thrive in life aren't the ones begging for opportunities. They aren't the ones forcing things before their time. They are the ones who prepare, who build, who remain patient. They trust the process. They work in silence. And because of that, the right opportunities naturally find them. Look at the people who are desperate to be liked, always trying to prove themselves. They're exhausting to be around. They try too hard. They overcompensate. And in doing so, they lose respect. But those who carry themselves with quiet confidence, who aren't desperate for validation, command attention effortlessly. They don't need to be liked. They simply exist as they are. And that energy alone attracts everything to them. Chasing is rooted in fear. The fear of losing, the fear of missing out, the fear of not being enough. But the moment you let go of that fear, when you finally realize you don't need to chase anything to be worthy, everything shifts. You carry yourself differently. You speak differently. You stop accepting breadcrumbs because you know you deserve the whole feast. You stop begging for love because you understand that real love never requires begging. When you stop chasing, you start attracting, because you begin operating from a place of abundance instead of lack. You realize that what is meant for you will never require you to lose yourself to keep it. The right people will see your value without you having to prove it. The right opportunities will come when you're ready, not when you're desperate. It's not about playing mind games. It's not about ignoring people just to make them want you more. It's about truly understanding that chasing isn't necessary. When you're secure in yourself, you don't have to force what's meant for you. You don't have to beg for time, love, or effort. If someone values you, they will show up. And if they don't, chasing them wouldn't have changed anything. Have you ever noticed that when you stop caring so much, things start to work out? The job you gave up on suddenly calls you back. The person who moved on suddenly reaches out. The opportunity you thought was gone suddenly comes back around. That's not luck. It's alignment. When you stop chasing, you regain control. The irony of life is that the more you try to control things, the more chaotic they become. But when you step back, let go, and focus on yourself, everything starts to align. The right people, the right timing, the right opportunities, they come effortlessly. Real power isn't in chasing. It's in realizing you never had to in the first place. There is strength in silence, power in keeping your dreams, plans, and next moves to yourself. Not everyone deserves to know what you're working on or where you're headed. Some people only want to hear your plans so they can plant doubt in your mind. Others want to see your next step so they can block it. And some just want to watch. Not to support, but to take advantage. When you overshare, you invite unnecessary energy into your life. Energy that drains, discourages, and even sabotages you. Some people will smile to your face, not in agreement, but the moment you walk away, they're hoping you fail. Not everyone wants to see you win. Your growth reminds them of everything they haven't done, so they plant seeds of doubt. They question your abilities. They act like they don't understand. But in reality, they just don't want you to succeed. The more you talk, the more access you give people to your vision. But not everyone deserves that access. Some people should only see the final product, not the process. Some should only hear about the results, not the hard work behind them. Because when you expose your plans too soon, you give others the chance to interfere, to discourage you, to make you second-guess yourself. Think about how many dreams have died because someone spoke too soon. How many people were excited about an idea, shared it with the wrong person, and suddenly felt doubt creep in. Not everyone is rooting for you. Some will pretend to support you, but deep down they don't want you to surpass them. Silence protects your dreams. It keeps your energy focused. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop announcing your plans, you give yourself the freedom to move without distractions, without outside opinions, without pressure. You just put in the work and let the results do the talking. The most successful people don't announce their every move. They work in silence, grinding when no one is watching. And by the time people realize what they've done, it's too late to stop them. That's how you have to move. Quietly, with discipline, without seeking approval or validation. A lion doesn't have to roar every minute to prove it's a lion. It moves with confidence, power, and certainty. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to explain your every move. Stay focused, stay consistent, and let your results speak for themselves. Too many people waste their energy explaining their plans to the wrong people. They spend time trying to convince others they're serious about their goals. But the truth is, no one needs to believe in your dream except you. No one needs to understand your vision except you. Because when you truly believe in yourself, you don't need permission. You don't need validation. You just need action. The greatest ideas, businesses, and achievements all started in silence. Before they changed the world, they were built in the dark, away from the noise, away from unnecessary opinions. And that's exactly where you need to be. The people who achieve the most don't waste time explaining their plans. They spend time building them. When you work in silence, you protect your energy. You don't waste time defending your decisions. You don't let outside voices interfere with your momentum. You stay in control. You move without fear of judgment or the weight of other people's doubts. And when you finally reveal what you've been working on, it speaks for itself. Some people ask about your plans just to compare them to their own. They want to see if you're ahead of them, if you're doing better. And the moment they realize you are, they either try to discourage you or copy you. But when you stay quiet and keep your moves private, they have nothing to compare, nothing to compete with, and nothing to interfere with. There's a reason why the most powerful moves in history were made in silence. A reason why the greatest successes are revealed only when they are already unstoppable. Because when you work in the background, no one sees you coming. And that is your greatest advantage. Let them wonder. Let them assume. Let them think you're doing nothing. Meanwhile, you are growing, you are building, you are becoming something greater. And when the time is right, when your work is ready to be seen, there will be nothing they can do to stop it. Because by then, it won't be about words. It will be about results. And results speak for themselves. Patience is one of the greatest strengths a person can have, yet too many people mistake it for weakness. In a world obsessed with instant results, fast success, and overnight transformations, patience has become undervalued. People believe waiting is a waste of time, that slowing down means falling behind, that if something doesn't happen immediately, it won't happen at all. But that's not how life works. The strongest, most successful, most fulfilled people understand that great things take time. They don't rush. They don't force. They trust the process. When you lack patience, you make desperate decisions. You settle for less than you deserve. You take shortcuts that cost you more in the long run. Impatience leads to mistakes, jumping into the wrong relationships, taking jobs that don't align with your purpose, quitting when things get tough just because you don't see immediate results. But when you trust the process, when you accept that great things take time, you make better choices. You move differently. You wait for what truly aligns with you instead of grabbing whatever is available out of fear that nothing better will come. Look at the strongest structures in the world, the tallest buildings, the most solid foundations. They take years to build. You can't rush the foundation and expect the building to last. The same is true for anything meaningful in life. A strong relationship isn't built overnight. A successful business doesn't happen in a week. A resilient mindset isn't developed in a day. These things take patience, endurance, and trust, even when you don't see immediate results. Patience is discipline. It's the ability to keep going, even when there's no proof that things are working yet. It's showing up every day, doing the work, believing in yourself, even when nothing around you is changing. Because real success doesn't happen in one big dramatic moment. It happens in the small, consistent efforts that add up over time. Too many people quit too soon. They plant seeds but walk away when they don't see growth right away. But just because you can't see something happening doesn't mean it isn't happening. The most important growth happens beneath the surface before it ever becomes visible. Roots take time to grow deep. Foundations take time to settle. And if you keep digging up your seeds just because they aren't growing fast enough, you'll never see the harvest. Patience isn't about doing nothing. It's not about waiting passively, hoping things magically fall into place. It's about trusting the process while continuing to work, continuing to believe, continuing to build, even when there's no immediate reward. It's the ability to keep moving without needing instant gratification. Society teaches people that if they don't see fast results, they're failing, that if they aren't making big moves, they're falling behind. But real power comes from understanding that not everything happens on your timeline. Some things take longer because they are meant to be stronger, more resilient, more unshakable. The longer you wait, the greater the reward. The stronger the foundation, the higher you can build. Patience is also proof of self-control. It's easy to get frustrated when things don't happen fast enough. It's easy to compare yourself to others and feel like you're behind. But when you are truly confident in your path, you don't need to rush. You don't need to chase. You don't need to force anything. Because what's meant for you will always come at the right time, in the right way, when you're truly ready. You do your part and let the results unfold as they're meant to. The most successful people aren't the ones who rush to the top. They're the ones who took their time, built carefully, and stayed consistent. They knew that shortcuts lead to setbacks, rushing leads to regret, and impatience leads to settling. They understood that anything worth having is worth waiting for. Some of the biggest mistakes come from impatience, leaving too soon, settling too quickly, reacting instead of waiting. But when you practice patience, you make better decisions. You give yourself time to see the full picture before acting. You avoid unnecessary stress because you trust that what's meant for you will come at the right time. Trusting the process means understanding that delays aren't denials. Just because something isn't happening now doesn't mean it never will. Some doors stay closed until you're truly ready to walk through them. Some things don't work out because something better is ahead. Some struggles last longer because they're teaching you something you need for the next level. But if you give up too soon, if you walk away just because it's taking longer than expected, you'll never see the rewards that patience was preparing you for. The strongest people aren't the ones who force things. They are the ones who trust, who work, and who wait. Because they know that when the time is right, everything will fall into place exactly as it should. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have. It is in silence that the truth is revealed. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop defending your actions, when you stop justifying your choices, people will begin to show you exactly who they are. Some will stay. Some will distance themselves. Some will become uncomfortable. And some will try to pull you back to a place where they can control you. But if you stay silent, if you resist the urge to explain, you will start to see the truth that words have been covering up. Most people speak because they want to be understood. They want to be heard. They want others to see their side, to know their intentions, to respect their decisions. But what happens when you stop explaining? That's when the truth comes out. That's when you see who was really listening, who was only pretending to support you, who was waiting for you to fail, and who never really cared in the first place. When you explain yourself too much, you give people access to your thoughts, your emotions, and your vulnerabilities. Some people only want to hear you talk so they can use your words against you. They want you to justify your boundaries so they can break them. They want you to explain your growth so they can find a way to stop it. They want you to defend yourself so they can find ways to weaken your argument. But when you stay silent, you take away their power. Silence makes people uncomfortable because it forces them to reveal themselves. When you stop chasing, they show you if they ever truly cared. When you stop explaining, they show you if they ever truly understood. When you stop reaching out, they show you if they ever truly valued your presence. The ones who stay, who respect your silence, who still show up, those are the ones who matter. But the ones who disappear, who get angry, who try to guilt trip you into speaking, those are the ones who were only there for what they could take